Hello everyone, I hope life has been treating you well. I am Starscream0625, and today we will be taking a look at the Transformers Universe 2.0 Ultra Class Darkwind. Darkwind is a straight up redeco of Universe 2.0 Silverbolt, and with a Toys R Us exclusive in the United States. Darkwind in Generation 1 was known as Darkwing, and for the purposes of this review, I shall refer to him as such. So here we have Darkwing in his jet mode. As you can see, I have Darkwing slanted on his side in jet mode because his jet mode is so massive that it can't fit within my limited studio. So I apologize in advance. I plan on enlarging my studio in the future. But yes, Darkwing is a very nice, large, supersonic jet bomber. And again, he is a repaint of Silverbolt, as is evident by his undercarriage. Jet, undercarriage, jet, undercarriage. None of the robot parts integrate into the jet mode and vice versa, as is typical of all Silverbolt toys and their redecos and remotes, etc. But it doesn't bother me too much, because looking at the jet from the front exposes a very, very nice paint job. He is cast in a dark charcoal gray plastic and has purple paint apps with some gold along the wings and lightning bolts here on either side. And then he has neon blue or teal on his tail fins and on the front fins up here. Crimson purple cockpit, tampograph Decepticon symbol. He has a rubber nose cone, and he does have light and sounds in this mode. He has 3 different light and sound effects. First, a flyby sound. Thruster noise, and these thrusters back here, which are translucent purple plastic, light up. And then the third one is a machine gun firing sound, which illuminates these 2 translucent pieces up here. Still very nice, and except the sound effects do not hinder the figure, nor does the sound box make the figure heavier than it should be and back heavy, etc. He does have landing gear, 3 sets of rolling landing gear. So he kinda sort of rolls, he more or less slides. I don't think the landing gear was really meant to roll, it was maybe more meant as a quality thing. But he does come with his weapon, which is a repaint with Silverbolts, or I shouldn't say repaint, but a recast in the same charcoal plastic the figure is cast in. He does have a firing missile, which, if you're not careful, will fire off really easily. The trigger is very sensitive, and the missile is just your standard missile. It's not sculpted in any particular fashion, and it's cast in teal plastic. You can store underneath Darkwing's nose, like so. There's 2 pegs here and 2 slots underneath the nose, like so, and the gun can store. For comparison in this mode, here he is next to his Power Master brother from Generation 1, Darkwind. Now I should note that he is a Construct Bots custom, because there's only 1,500 BotCon 2007 Darkwinds to go around, so I decided to make my own, and I cannot fit them both on camera, and I feel really bad about that, and I apologize. We'll come back to him later. And then here he is next to Dark of the Moon Starscream, and you can see that Darkwing is very much an Ultra Class toy, and Starscream only goes up to where the whole nose piece separates from the rest of the fuselage of the jet. Speaking of Dreadwind again, I have devised a way in which Dreadwind and Darkwing can combine to form Dreadwing. They're a combined jet form from the Marvel comics. And I start by taking this entire nose section of the jet and bringing it back like so, and this gray piece will peg in right here behind the button for the sounds and lights, or lights and sounds, like so. And I recommend removing the gun because it's very sensitive. And then I take Dreadwind and take his torso piece and set it over Darkwing's legs, like so. And I guess, of course, there's like gap there, you could always bring down Darkwing's, pardon me, their names are so confusing, back down like so, to close in that gap. By no means is it great, but I thought it'd be fun to try to integrate them into one another. So now we'll start transforming Darkwing. To begin, again, you're going to take the whole cockpit nose area and bring it up against what would come as back, and flip the tail fins in against the wings on either side. You'll then flip up the landing gear, like so, and separate his arms from the underside of his wings. They peg in via this peg and this slot next to the battery compartment, like so, and bring them out for clearance. Then the other side, separate from the underside of the wing and bring out for clearance. And then you're going to take Darkwing's legs and accordion them outwards, like so, and down, and rotate them at the thigh. And the other side, accordion them down and rotate them at the thigh. And then you're going to push his torso up, which will reveal his head and play a transformation sound, and light up his eyes like so. Then you're going to come down here to his feet. You're going to flip out the toes, and then flip out his heels, like so. Straighten his legs out. I need to adjust the camera. There we are. We can actually see his head if I set him back far enough. There we are. And then you want to bring his arms down, and you're going to flip out his hands, and they peg into his forearms, like so. Same thing on the other side. Bring his arm down, flip out his fists from the forearms and peg them in. And here we have Darkwing in his robot mode. Alright, so here we have Darkwing in his robot mode, and first off, he fits in the frame much better than he did in jet mode, and I apologize for that. But just as it was in jet mode, it is very evident that Darkwing is a straight up repaint of Silverbolt. However, I think this robot mode works a lot better as Darkwing than the jet mode did. We'll get a close up here on the head sculpt. Now the head sculpt is the same pencil built was on Silverbolt, but the way that they painted it really works as Darkwing. Now Darkwing in Generation 1 had one unitary visor that was purple, instead of having two eyes. Well, he did have the mouth and chin area painted teal, as it is here. So that's neat that they were able to replicate that. So we'll start with articulation. His head can do a full, no, it cannot. It cannot do a full 360. These side pieces, the cheeks, get caught back here on this piece protruding out from his back. But when he turns his head is at a sort of an angle. So that limits head articulation a little bit. His shoulders are on ratchets, nice loud ratchets. So you get lots of movement there. His shoulders, yes, go in and out at a ratchet joint. He has 90 degrees of movement there at the elbow, nothing at the wrists, nothing at the waist due to transformation. Get his arms out of the way. He has lots of hip movement with the ratchet joint. He can go that far out. If I were to rotate his arms more, he can go even farther. So we can do mega splits. He has a thigh cut. He has lots of movement there at the knee due to transformation because his legs are hollow. And his feet can pivot forward and back along with the heel spurs in the back. Now the feet bring me to one gripe, not really a big issue, but the gripe with the figure is that the feet are painted. And some of the paint is chipped off down here at the bottom towards his toes. But the heel spurs are separate pieces of plastic and are cast in steel plastic. So I'm assuming that these toes, due to the paint chipping off, were cast in this same charcoal plastic that was used for his legs, but were painted steel for some reason. Maybe there's a budget problem, I don't know. Not a huge issue, but it bothers me a little bit. Just gotta get him to stand. His heel spurs are a little loose, so if you set them down the wrong way, they're go inwards. His lights and sounds do work in this mode as well. There is another button back here that will push down on this side against the main button that was used in bomber mode and will replicate the shooting sound. But no lights are visible on the robot mode front. However, looking at from behind, the guns on the sides of the nose area of the jet still light up. Again, he has his weapon, which can be held in either hand, like so. And it sort of resembles his rifles from Generation 1. Granted, he had 2 rifles. And this can store on his back just as it did in jet mode, like so. So I prefer it in his hand. Oop. But I do not prefer it to fall out of his hand. There go his heel spurs again. So for size comparison, here he is next to his Power Master brother, Darkwind. And I think I scaled them nicely, if I do say so myself. And then here he is next to Cybertron Deluxe Starscream. And you can see that Darkwing is much larger than Starscream. And then I wager that he's about the same size as today's Combiner Wars Leader class figures. For comparison, here he is next to Combiner Wars Leader Megatron. And I suppose I am actually wrong, Megatron is a bit taller. But they're pretty close in scale. should probably get Megatron out of the frame. This is not his review. But Darkwing has very nice paint applications on his chest to evoke the Generation 1 figure. He has silver on his abdomen and some yellow and gold, or pardon me, gold and red, replicating his sticker detail. And he has a nice Flipicon symbol tamper-graphed on his chest. And I don't know, it feels like in some ways that this mold was meant to be Darkwing, because I think they updated the Silverbolt mold so much that it stopped being Silverbolt in some ways. Whereas, for example, the Combiner Wars Silverbolt, who I would bring in, but he's currently busy being a torso for Superion, replicates the cartoon look of Silverbolt much better. Darkwing exemplifies what I really love about the latter run of Generation 1, and what really gets me excited for Titan's return. And that all Decepticons are traditional Decepticon colors. Darkwing is an example of that, Dreadwind is an example, Overlord, Double Dealer, Punch, Counterpunch, and so on. And Darkwing happens to be one of my favorites from the Twilight days of Generation 1. And despite the fact that he's a straight-up repaint of Silverbolt, I think that he wears the mold well in his own right. And I think it helps, to be fair, that I don't own Universe Silverbolt, so that he feels like a new figure to me in that matter. But I do think he has a place in your collection, even if you do have Silverbolt, because I think certain elements of this mold really lend itself well to him. So this has been the video review for the Transformers Universe 2.0 Darkwing, also known as Darkwind. I am Starstream0625. Thank you very much for watching. Please comment, rate, and subscribe, and take care.